And so on Thursday night, after the service, my mother and her siblings and other church members, they stood up after service and they started to talk. Well, I sat in the pew in the back of the church, and I drifted off to sleep. We lived in the country, and we walked probably about 5 miles to church every Sunday, and every night for that revival. And so after they finished their conversation, they decided to go outside and start walking home.
Oh, sure.
God got you.
Did you feel like Jesus?
And left you in the temple?
They left me in the temple. So I wake up before they realize that I wasn't with them. I wake up, it's pitch black dark. Can you imagine all the
Right.
rain?
It's really dark.
It's really dark. I was scared to death. I was crying and screaming and praying. And then suddenly, the door opened and there was my mom.
Oh.
So the next night I went down and joined the church.
Oh, I think I would
Need some extra help.
Right now, right then you would have joined.
Yeah, the preacher's still been around. And you know, but my faith had been growing anyway. But that was the moment that sort of galvanized me to make that step. And I've been on that path.
What's your background in the law?
I went to law school. Probably I was out of school for about 7 years before I went back to law school. I went to a night law school in Atlanta. At that time, it was called Atlanta Law School. They are no longer in existence. They opened up in 1895, and other than for the law school at Howard, which was founded in 1870 or 1869, I think Howard opened a night law school program for black students. It was the oldest, the second oldest night law program in the country. And it was open primarily to educate white men. And in 1923, they admitted a white woman and did not admit another woman until probably the 1970s. And when they began to accept the GI Bill monies for student tuition fees in the 1970s, they then had to open their doors to black students. And the reason I know that is because I'm sitting in class one night and the question came up, and the dean said, well, the only reason they're here is because the government told me that if I was going to get the money for the GI Bill, we had to accept Negroes. And that tells you how bold in these private settings that they are.
Even when you're sitting there.
Even when you're sitting there.
You ain't scared now. Saying everything now.
Bold in the public.
In the essay part, you see you like to write essays. This is the problem I had reading the book, okay? Is that they were essays, but the last few pages helped me to connect most of them, but they were almost, to me, independent in and of themselves. I kept getting lost and confused.
Well, I'm sorry for the confusion.
But
you know what I said?
indicated that it was a collection.
He did,
Okay.
but he started with an introduction just like before y'all came about the current situation.
Okay.
So I thought the essays were going to go, which I told Margaret, gee, he could have wrote a wonderful book on the history of Tuskegee.
so many of those have already been written.
Oh, but he had a lot of information. I guess I hadn't read that, but I mean, and who was that? Dr. Noah that died? What's the guy name? He started the program at
in Joppa.
In
Joppa,
okay. Anyway, I was just saying that I was, for some reason, because of the introduction, I thought that the essays
was going to be Like a book.
would connect up a little more, even though they were essays. I got the impression that even though it was a collection of essays, they were written at different times, and is that correct?
Mhm, that's correct.
That's correct. So when I started reading, I'm just saying for me, I thought that they would connect up somewhat more than what they did about the current situation. And each one of them did some talking. Before the end, they began to come together for me a little better, but I'm just saying.
You know, that is actually, that was all done by design. Maybe I miscalculated whether or not people would be confused by it, but I hoped at the end that I could tie it all together and make it all make sense. They were sort of, I want to use the specific cases that I had covered in order to say, to capture this moment in time, and then with that closing argument, sort of like make the case for why we needed, you know, really full justice in the country, because we never received it.
Oh, I agree
How do we
with
go
that.
forward with that?
Ma'am?
How do we go forward with trying to get full justice? I mean,
I think it all starts with an acknowledgement from the country of the mistreatment of black people in this country. It seemed like we stepped off of the plantation and started living. That's the purpose of this
Right.
stuff. We stepped off of the plantation, and we were expected to melt into the melting pot just like everybody else. And the problem has been is that, you know, we were ill-equipped, many of us were, you know, to begin that journey. And so each succeeding generation has gotten a little bit better at adapting, but until the country comes to grips with the fact that that was wrong, and make recompense for the fact that that was wrong. I mean, our neighbor, C.T. Vivian, you know, he has been asking me for years to talk about reparations, to figure out how that thing is all possible, because he believes, you know, that is what has held us back really as a community, because we started this process in 1865, and they expect us to be able to compete with people who have been running this game since the 13th century. And it's just sort of impossible to do. So I think the way we get beyond where we are is that the nation, not black people, because we understand the problem, but I think other people have to understand why we have this problem, or what role that they play in this problem, and accept a willingness to resolve it.
Well, the fact that there is a problem, you got to remember,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't
acknowledge.
even acknowledge that there is a problem. I think that, like, since Obama's been president, people have shown their true color. I think it's innate in some people.
and Trump is bringing out
The real truth.
Oh my God.
But you know, some people look, and when you look at it and you think about it, we are the only group that it was illegal in this country to teach to read and write.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, it's only been legal about 150, less than 200 years. A lot of people look at, but look what you've done. Look how far you've come. If I'm a white person and I'm looking at, say, you, Moniz, you've only been able to read and write this language legally for 150 years, and you're doing better than me, then I don't think that they're going to say, oh, we owe you something. We held you back. We held you back. What they're basically saying is, Moniz or Belinda, you could have been way ahead, but you know what? If you were way ahead, then that means that somehow that means that y'all smarter and better than we are.
And we are.
And I think that,
And we are.
and I think that That's why, Lois, or say, Ross, you'll never get them to recognize that they did hold us back. I mean, that's just my
That's
thinking.
part of the fight right now. With Obama, I mean with Trump, that group, and I live in an area where there's a lot of poor whites,
Right.
and
Resentment.
they are rallying like mad.
Right,
Because
resentful.
this is their savior.
Uh-huh.
This is their person.
Mhm.
He's like us,
Mhm.
down in Duffy Trashy. Yeah, he's like us, and they're relating him to him. And then they're angry because we are who we are.
Because by
In spite
right,
of everything that has happened, in spite of their discrimination,
We still
and they're
survive,
being
but we
ugly, they're
rise.
killing us, and they're not killing us fast enough. But we still
rise.
can't write
Uh-huh. And by right, with everything that you guys, that they have done, by right, none of us should have achieved what we have achieved and done what we've done. Therefore, there's also the fear factor in
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's it
That's the
right
big
there.
one.
They scary.
They're scary.
And you know, the dynamics on the globe is changing.
Yeah.
You know, the country is browning and it's
Yes.
turning brown.
Very much so.
since the
They scared
1980s.
me too.
Yes,
Another fear factor.
and you know, so they're losing population, and this Trump phenomenon, it is, it's sort of like the white supremacist last stand. It's the last opportunity to try to hold on to this notion of white supremacy. And if we can crush that this fall, I think we are on the way to achieving some of those things, because you've had this minority barking at the president because you know, he's a black person, and it has always been from maybe day 2 in his administration, this attempt to delegitimize him as a person, him as a president, because when, as we talked about in Just in the Round, the system, the Constitution, the system wasn't set up for black people.
Right.
Right.
We weren't considered part of the equation in 1778.
So when they say we the people, they want to
Not
talk
talking
about
about
me.
me. Not talking
Oh,
We
no.
consider you a person.
But God,
All they had to do was
But
qualify,
God,
and
okay.
we wouldn't have had this problem. They could have said everybody but
Me.
but you.
Oh.
but God.
You know,
But God,
They couldn't think
we
that,
the
they didn't
people
think that, yeah.
were we the white men, because white
Absolutely.
women were
Couldn't
not-
even
not
afford
even-
that.
Well, I'm in good company.
Yeah. And we were then, each one of us was like 3/4 that of a white person. That's how we counted, that's how they counted us, as if we were inventory stock. 3/5, right?
3/5 of it, yeah.
We all consider
Yeah, it was 3/5.
One much, that's for sure.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't very much. and you know, so that's that whole notion. We weren't factored into this process, and so when they woke up the day after he had strolled into the Oval Office, you know, because remember when he was elected that November of 2008. That was this sense of euphoria in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Whoa, everybody was on that bandwagon.
Uh-huh.
You know, that this was the greatest thing. America has really achieved something. It put aside this sense of racial prejudice.
Everybody was hugging.
Everybody.
There was a hug in this
I think that-
inauguration I ever been to.
Oh, yeah, I think that, I don't agree. I just thought that we saw the huggers. We didn't see the non-huggers.
The thing is that they were
But they was
suppressed. though.
giving you the impression
They
that
were
They were suppressed
suppressed because more
Yeah.
people gave
Were
light to
Right.
to what had just happened. and so they didn't have a
They
voice.
didn't matter.
And
They
then
were
all,
shocked.
but then all of a sudden, they were in shock. But that shock wore off about day 2.
Yeah.
The shock
A
wore
later
off.
that afternoon?